Hello, my name is Jill Cox-Cordova, and this is a Do Something Different interview. Today's guest is Lucinda J. Clark. She's a prolific poet and the founder of PRA Publishing and the Poetry Matters Project. Here is my interview with Lucinda J. Clark.
In 2019, I was a person, if you can envision a hamster on you know how you get the hamster on the wheel, just constantly, running in the wheel and eating my carrot at the same time and, running as fast as I could. It just trying to do so many things and not really feeling like I was moving forward.
And in 2020, have you changed?
Actually, I have. The pandemic has actually all of us had taken all of us off the treadmill. We had to, the treadmill was stopped, and we were probably at first still moving and realizing, hey, wait a minute, I'm really not going anywhere. Let me get off and sit over here and take a minute and figure out what's going on, and then what am I going to do about it? And that's what I was able to do.
So what did you do about it?
I had originally decided that I was going to come out of a few things at the beginning of the year. And I received some encouragement from a friend of mine that this was the time to give one of my projects, one of my heartfelt projects, another try. And it was a phenomenal, and we had a phenomenal response. And so I'm grateful for that.
Was that one of your poetry projects or something else?
Yeah, actually it was the Poetry Matters Project. It was turning 20, and I had a couple of situations where I was allowed to go back and actually write again myself, and to put on a Poetry Month challenge, and to actually interact with some poets on the West Coast. And so we did readings and learned a lot about how technology is not a thing to just master now. It is a thing that will probably save lots of us in the future.
For those who don't know, who were you quarantined with?
I was, or still am to some extent, quarantined with my husband, Robert. He's a physician. My daughter Jessica, who is a woman with many, many talents, and my son Xavier, who both of them are adults, and so we were all, and our two dogs, and so we've learned a lot about each other. Sometimes when you get so busy, you miss things that are very, very important. Even something as simple as gratitude. My son Xavier. He submitted a short story, and I think you read it, called Black People Don't Tango.
Yes, it was fabulous. He turned it into a screenplay?
We are shopping. Oh yeah, and it's very, very funny and a lot of fun. And we've been working on during the pandemic, we've been working on the lookbook and working on our pitching. And we were starting to pitch the project right before the pandemic. Then, as you know, everything shut down, and so we are resuming.
Well, you mentioned that your husband is a physician. So how has that been with COVID-19?
It's a tough thing to have to make the decision on whether or not when your hero or shero comes home from the front lines, do you have them strip down in the garage and burn their clothes and spray them with disinfectant? But it's a necessary evil. I mean, because we just don't know. Maybe they missed the spot when they were scrubbing, or maybe someone coughed on them and they just weren't aware, and so it's stressful.
Sure. I totally get that. So you, as a mother of, a Black male, a Black female, how are you feeling now?
Oh my goodness. the emotions change from day to day. I think that I am blessed, and I want to make sure that it's understood that I am grateful, because I've been able to raise, like you said, a African American male and female here in the South, get them through schooling and the education, high school. They went on to college, Go Dogs, UGA, and Arizona State, and they graduated, and they did it in 4. I think maybe 4.5, but they were focused and they were committed to the fact that education was important. And with regards to how I brought them through it, I made them understand that when you interact with a police officer, the police officer is an authority figure. Your job is to understand that and to get out of it, I mean, and I don't mean like, talk your way out of it. Be respectful, be observant of all things that are going on around you, mentally take notes, and get home, get out of the situation alive. And I think that any African American knows that you've had encounters, and sometimes when you watch some of the videos, there's a disregard to the fact that they are the person is in a situation where they are dealing with an authority figure. And so at the end of the day, it's been unfortunate and very painful to watch as we, as African Americans and mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, aunts, uncles, grandmothers, watch as we appear to be slaughtered in the streets.
Does that make,
no reason.
Are you frightened? Are your children frightened?
Frightened. No, I grew up in the streets of Philadelphia when the Rizzo brothers were the rule, or were law and order, and fear. No, I'm not afraid, and I taught them not to be afraid. I've taught them to be respectful. I've taught them to understand that this is part of being a person of color. Because they are still in that millennial phase, they believe all people are people. I can appreciate that. I raise global citizens, but when they encounter someone who doesn't know their background, they must understand that the rules may be different for them in a given situation.
Sure.
So fear. I think comes from a place of when you don't have enough knowledge or resources at your disposal. I think fear is when you don't have support. There's no one to turn to. And I think that fear is the driving force for hate and other emotions that are fueling some things in the dialogue or in the discussions that are taking place today.
Well, you are one of the most positive people I know. Every time I talk to you, I'm always like happy afterwards because you're just uplifting. And I think anyone who talks to you would feel that. So with that being the kind of person you are, what advice would you give to other people who are trying to maintain that positive vibe in these strange times that we're going through?
This is the time for all of us to figure out what is important, what resonates with us, and stick with that. Because it's crazy. And it's getting crazier every day. There's always something new. There's always a new murder. There's always a new hashtag, and we've got to just figure out who we are really, and try to be true to that.